Today I have come to a historic Paraguayan site, the memorial at the battlefield of Acosta Nu. The Battle of Acosta Nu was one of the last battles of the Triple Alliance War, which Paraguay was fighting against Brazil, Argentina and Uruguay. And let me take you back to that time. The date is the 16th of August 1869, and following the Battle of Piribebuy on the 12th of August, the remains of the Paraguayan army was in full retreat. It had passed for a day via Caraguatay and was now heading down this valley, which faces towards Caraguatay, and in this direction onwards to the fortified camp at Caraguatay. This point here between the two is Acosta Nu, and as you can see, it's a broad, wide and flat valley. It was here that the Brazilian cavalry caught up with the Paraguayan rearguard. Masco Lopez and the main troops had already advanced towards Caraguatay, but here behind them, travelling much slower, was the wagon trains bringing along the remaining Paraguayan cannons. It was a total of about 3,600 men and boys, and heading down the valley towards them, across that flat ground, was 20,000 men of the Brazilian cavalry. It was always going to be a one-sided battle. However, to reach the Paraguayans, the Brazilians had to ford two substantial creeks, which gave the Paraguayans time to hold their ground and drag their cannons a little further. Now, in these 3,600 which the Paraguayans had, approximately 1,000 of those were just children, some no older than 9 or 10 years old, and some, for some reason which I can't understand, were given false beards by their commander to make them look a bit older, although a 9-year-old is the height of a 9-year-old. But anyway, they were the rear guard. These 3,600, 1,000 children, 2,600 mainly reserved, with a few veterans amongst them. The Brazilians fought their way through. The children thrown against them obviously had little chance, but whilst the Paraguayans fought and fought, they held them back for 8 hours and were able to drag their cannon away. Some of the veterans got away with the cannon, but only about 100 men. Left behind, dead or alive on the battlefield, were 3,500. At the end of the battle, only 1,500 of those would be alive. The tragic end of the battle came when the Brazilians managed to ford the river slightly to the flank of the Paraguayans and approached them from the rear. Then the remaining men and boys formed a square to try and fight off the Brazilian cavalry, and obviously cut down in great numbers as they did so. And to add to the chaos, somehow this land out here caught fire, for it was at that time not cattle pasture but straw, and many of those killed were killed trapped in those flames as they raced across the valley. a very tragic end for the children of Paraguay. Now, that day has been taken, August the 16th, as a memorial to those children, and has been made into Children's Day. So the happy, joyous day every year that Paraguayans celebrate as Children's Day is for those children who were mown down by the Brazilians here in Acosta Nu. And then just one final reminder of this battle. In the pantheon of the heroes in Asuncion, there is the tomb of the unknown soldier. However, unlike many countries, that tomb is not a soldier, that is the tomb of a child soldier, one of the victims of the Battle of Acosta Nu.